What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. All right, guys, so we are finally here. My gosh, we are finally here. The return of the Ultimate Marvel Universe with Ultimate Invasion #1, written by Jonathan Hickman. Now, if you're new to my channel, let me explain what we do here. So we basically sit down and cover different comic book stories from different comic book companies. But when it came to my channel, it actually started with the Ultimate Marvel Universe because I love the universe so much. But on top of that, it was a way for me to actually get into comics, which honestly, for a lot of readers in the early 2000s. And let me explain why. So in the late 1990s, Marvel was struggling really bad. They were struggling in the late 1990s because they lost a lot of readers over that decade. And so when it came to the early 2000s, they were like, we need a plan to regain old readers, but to also gain new readers as well. And that gave birth to the Ultimate Marvel Universe. Now, with that being said, the reason why Ultimate Marvel Universe actually worked because it was less complicated and easier to follow at its time. Because in the early 2000s, you have to realize, if you were trying to jump into comics as a new reader, it was very hard for you to actually do that because you jumped into a series that had over 100, 200, 300 books. And so it was basically hard to actually get into those books. But when it came to Ultimate Marvel, in the early 2000s, it was a fresh start. But on top of that, it gave writers more freedom to do what they want with those characters. And what I mean by that is they were able to tell better origins or better stories for characters in that universe rather than in the main Marvel universe. Because when it came to the main Marvel universe, you had a lot of restrictions like, hey, here's a character, write about that character, but at the same time, you're kind of controlled on what you could possibly do with that character. But when it came to Ultimate Marvel, it was kind of like, no, you have more freedom to do what you want with those characters, just hoping you're able to actually tell a better story with those characters in that universe. And of course, it worked out. Because Ultimate Marvel became popular. You had Ultimate Spider-Man, X-Men, Fantastic Four, the Ultimates. You had a lot of things actually going well for the Ultimate Marvel Universe. And matter of fact, it lasted for 15 years, all the way up to 2015, Secret Wars. Now, Secret Wars was this big storyline that was done back in 2015. And basically, in that storyline, you had the death of the multiverse, which meant the end of the Ultimate Marvel Universe. Now, at the end of that story, you did have the return of the multiverse, but the question was, though, did the Ultimate Marvel Universe come back as well? Now, you would think that with the multiverse being back, yes, it would come back as well. The problem was, though, we only had stories over the years that kind of gave us small glimpses of the return of the Ultimate Marvel Universe, but we never had a story that actually dived into the Ultimate Marvel Universe and say, hey, it's back, here it is, here's some stories, have fun. Basically, we got small glimpses, but that was it. And so it left fans wondering, is the Ultimate Marvel Universe actually back or not? Now, with that being said, when the multiverse was remade, two characters from the Ultimate Marvel Universe actually arrived or stayed in the main Marvel Universe, which was Miles Morales and also the Maker. Now, the Maker is actually Reed Richards from the Ultimate Marvel Universe who turned evil. At first, in his own series, Ultimate Fantastic Four, he was a good guy. But at the end of the Ultimate Marvel Universe, he turned into a bad guy. And this all leads back into Jonathan Hickman. And the reason why, because Jonathan Hickman is the one who's writing this story. He also wrote Secret Wars, but on top of that, he wrote the Ultimates for a very short period of time. Now, when he did that, though, he basically said, hey, Reed Richards is going to call himself the Maker. Because again, at the end of the Ultimate Marvel Universe, Reed was bad, but he had no bad guy name yet. And so when Hickman came in, he said his bad guy name is going to be the Maker. And so you had the Maker just going around doing evil things left and right. Either way, it was Hickman who actually made the Maker. I mean, Reed Richards in the Ultimate Marvel Universe was made by Brian Michael Bendis, but the tail end of that series, or his existence in the Ultimate Marvel Universe, it was Hickman who turned him into the Maker. Now, with all that being said, it makes sense for Hickman to write the return of the Ultimate Marvel Universe, because he was the one who actually got rid of it. So it makes sense for him to actually bring it back. And so now we can finally jump into Ultimate Invasion after sitting here for so long and talking about the Ultimate Marvel Universe being back. And so finally getting into Ultimate Invasion #1, we actually pick up at the Blackguard building. Now, when it comes to the Blackguard building, it looks like a normal building, a normal business building that was just painted black, and that is it. But then we see a bunch of men who are very armed about to break into this building. Now, Jonathan Hickman does use a lot of pages for this section. And the reason why, because at first he wants you to believe that this building is basically a regular building. But in reality, it's not a regular building, because when these guys break in, and by the way, these guys are using high-tech weapons to break into this place. But when they do, they're able to get 2 key cards. And when they get those key cards, it leads them to a private elevator that goes underground, which tells us that the Blackguard building was just a ruse, a decoy to hide the real thing underneath it. And so now the question is, who or what are these guys are about to break out? Like, who's kept down here? And why are they breaking this person out for? And we kind of find out that they are breaking out the Maker himself. Now, this is actually very important. And the reason why I'm saying this to you guys is because when it comes to the Maker, he is Jonathan Hickman's creation. I mean, yes, Brian Michael Bendis made Reed Richards, but Jonathan Hickman was the one who turned Reed into the actual Maker character. But on top of that, this is the Maker finally reaching his goal, or beginning the process of reaching his goal. Because remember, the Maker just wants to go back to the Ultimate Marvel Universe. And so this is him right now saying, I am going to actually get back there. It's him finally reaching his overall goal. And so with that being said, we kind of find out that basically these guards were selected for a very special reason. Now, before we actually get into that reason, I do want to mention that he was able to actually contact these guards by using his therapist, or the multiple therapists that had came by to his room while he was locked up. But over time, he was able to reprogram them in a way to basically go back out in the world to find these 4 people right here, who of course right now are breaking him out. Now, that was not the reason they were selected. The real reason comes very soon. But you did have the Maker ask these 4 guys to take off their masks. And the reason why, because he wants to make sure it's the 4 people he has selected, except one of them is not. One of the 4 he did select back out at the very last second. And for Reed, that is going to be a problem, because he needs all 4 of them to pull off a trick that he's trying to use. And that trick is supposed to be used for one particular person. Now, he says it's for a he, but that he is actually very important. Either way, we kind of find out why it was so important for him to have the 4 people he has selected, because he wants to make sure that when people come here to see that he did not break out because the Blackguard building was attacked, he wants to make sure that no one comes after him. He basically used some kind of genetic machine to take the 4 people who were bringing him out and combine them together into one body to make a clone of him. But the problem was, though, because one guy stepped out at the very last second, his replacement throws off the entire genetic system for the clone of the maker. And so, yes, he does have a clone right now who's going to pretend to be in the room while he walks out and goes to do what he wants to do. But this clone is not as smart and, of course, not as complete as he wanted to be, which means that when whoever he's trying to trick comes by to the prison to look for him, to make sure he's still locked up, when they walk into that room, he's not going to find a complete Reed Richards or an Ultimate Marvel Reed. He's going to find incomplete Ultimate Marvel Reed Richards. And so we do see some time actually pass by. But with the time actually passing by, we pick up with Black Panther and Reed Richards. But on top of that, the Blackguard business building has been destroyed. Now, at first, you have Black Panther kind of wondering what happened here. Because at first, it does seem like there was some kind of random attack here and there across different locations, and maybe the government is trying to cover things up for someone. But then you have Black Panther say, well, actually, my contact tells me that basically the government is involved in what exactly happened here. Now, the Reed Richards you see right now is the main Marvel Reed Richards. And that is actually very important. And you'll see why here in a moment. But either way, you do have Black Panther and the main Marvel Reed Richards right now looking around, and you have Black Panther tell Reed, matter of fact, the government is trying to hide up this place. And the reason why, because this place was actually controlled by damage control, which means that they had something going on underneath the actual building, which we already know they did. It was the prison to hold the maker. And so right now, as soon as you had the Black Panther tell Reed, the main Marvel Reed, that this was a prison to hold someone because it was made by damage control, you have Reed instantly realize, oh my God, they were holding the maker, the alternate universe version of me. And so you have Reed and Black Panther try to see if the maker is actually still in his prison. But of course, when they get there, they find the incomplete clone of the maker. And so they're kind of like, wait a second, this is most likely not him. And so when you have the main Marvel Reed ask the incomplete clone of the maker, hey, is that you, maker? You have the incomplete clone just fall apart completely, which then tells the Black Panther and the main Marvel Reed, the maker got away and now they got to find him. And for Reed, he's more scared of what he's going to do, not where he's going, but what he's going to actually do. But 1 week after that, we actually pick up at the Baxter building. Now, when we do, we pick up with Franklin Richards. And the reason why, because it's nighttime. Everybody is asleep. And so with everybody asleep, you do have Franklin hear something, but he thinks he sees his father, the main Marvel Universe Reed Richards. Because we have to remember, in the Ultimate Marvel Universe, the Maker and Susan Storm, they never had a child. They never had a child together in that alternate universe. And so for right now, it's the maker pretending to be the main Marvel Reed to sneak around the Baxter building. But just in case Franklin or Valera sees him, he's able to actually walk by them and say like, oh, it's just me and your dad. Shh, stay quiet. And of course, Franklin falls for it, and you have the maker continue inside the actual building. And when he does, he's going to a computer to do something. And when he goes to that computer, he's very intrigued and happy that what he found, that something the main Marvel Reed had basically made. But then we actually pick up 1 week later, where we actually pick up with the Illuminati. Now, this is actually very important. And the reason why, because the Illuminati was also made by Brian Michael Bendis, like the Ultimate Marvel Reed Richards was when Ultimate Marvel had the Ultimate Fantastic Four series. Either way, Jonathan Hickman actually reworked the Illuminati a tad bit. But with that being said, the Illuminati is basically a group of characters, the smartest characters in the Marvel Universe, who had came together and said they have the right and the ability to make big time decisions for the rest of the world. So anytime something was about to happen, they said, listen, we have the right to make a decision for everybody across the world. At the same time, they met up secretly, meaning that other people had no idea about this secret group of heroes who are so smart, but at the same time, so controlling. But the reason why we actually pick up with them right now is because they're saying that over the last couple weeks or whatever, the Maker has been going around attacking different places of theirs and also collecting things of theirs as well. But the question is though, what is he trying to do with all these different items? And so they're very worried about why he's doing it. Now for them, they're kind of like, they're also extra worried because every single item he had basically took is easily trackable, which means that as soon as he used one of the things that he has stole from each member of the Illuminati, they can easily track him, find him, and stop him. And so they're kind of like, why would he do that? He stole one thing from each of us, where we can easily find him as soon as he turns it on. And so that brings more fear into their minds because again, they're like, this is basically an evil version of you, Reed. What is he trying to do? But then we see the Maker actually meet up with Miles Morales. Now, this is actually very important. And the reason why, because you have to remember, in Secret Wars, the multiverse was destroyed. But at the end of that storyline, it was brought back. But the question was, did the Ultimate Marvel Universe also come back? And again, we had no idea if it actually ever did. We saw glimpses, we got hints, but we never had a full story like this saying, hey, the Ultimate Universe is coming back or it is back. Either way right now, after the end of the Ultimate Marvel Universe, the Maker and Miles were the only two characters to basically make it to the main Marvel Universe. Now, these two characters, they know that they are from an alternate universe, and they know that basically their history or whatever was rewritten in a way to make it seem like they were always in the main Marvel universe. Well, really, Miles Morales was. His whole origin was rewritten in a way to say, yeah, he was always here in the main Marvel universe. In reality, he never was. He was just dropped there after the Ultimate Marvel Universe was erased. Now, the Maker, his history was not rewritten. He just dropped in and stayed, and that is it. Either way, it's the Maker saying, listen, you and I both know that we do not belong here. You and I both know that we came from an alternate universe. And you and I both know we want to go back. Now, he's asking Miles, do you want to go with me? Because I'm going back there, back to our universe where we came from. And Miles says, no, you go ahead and go without me. And you have the Maker say, fine, I'll go. And he leaves. But then we jump forward in time. Now, when we actually do, we actually pick up with the Illuminati trying to stop the Maker. Because right now they were able to track him thanks to him using all the different things that he had basically stole from them. Now, when they get there, that is the moment you have the main Marvel Reed realize what the Maker is trying to do. He's kind of like, we have to stop him now. If we don't, oh my God, it's going to be really bad. The problem is though, when they actually try to stop him, they can't. He has some kind of shield around him. And we see that every item he took opened up some kind of portal, and he's going through that portal. But before he leaves, he says two things real quick. The first is that he plans to do what he was intended to do when he was created, meaning that make a world in his image, because he believes that was why he was made in the Ultimate Marvel Universe, to make a world in his image. But the second thing he says is actually a question towards the main Marvel Reed Richards. And he says, hey, real quick, I have a question for you. If you could do this all over again, would you basically erase me from existence? And you have the main Marvel Reed tell the Maker, yes, I would have, because now I know what you're trying to do. And you have the Maker tell Reed, I will always keep that in my mind. And he goes through the portal and we're kind of like, what is about to go down? But to wrap up this video, and oh my God, it's a huge cliffhanger. But to wrap up this video, we actually do pick up with the Maker again, except on a new Earth, it seems. This Earth is called 6160. Now that right there is very important. And the reason why, because remember, when it comes to the main Marvel universe, it's numbered as 616 universe. But this one is 6160, which means that there is a possibility the Maker is trying to rewrite the history of the main Marvel universe, but in his image, because we actually pick up with Peter Parker and Liz Allen. Now, when we do, it seems to be the moment where Peter Parker is about to become Spider-Man, when the spider is actually about to bite him. The problem is, though, right when the spider is about to bite him, the spider is stopped. It's caught and put away. And it's put away by the Maker, which seems to be that the Maker is trying to rewrite the main Marvel universe in his image, or he had created another universe that's very similar to the main Marvel universe, but he's also rewriting it in his own image. But I'm going with the first idea, that he went back in time and he's trying to rewrite the history of the main Marvel universe in his own image once again. But this is where we are actually going to end today's comic book video. So with that being said, guys, please leave me a like down below and subscribe. And guys, I cannot wait for Ultimate Invasion number 2. But guys, I'll see y'all later. Later, guys.